Hey you witches, how you doing today? We are back with another video, and today I really wanted to share the Starcodes Astro Oracle. If you watched my witchy haul video from a couple weeks back, I got it from Hay House, the publisher Hay House, and they had a big clearance and everything was 50% off. And this caught my eye. I love the artwork on the cover of the deck, and they had, showed a few cards, and I thought, oh, that looks beautiful. And I've always sort of wanted to learn a little bit more about astrology and astronomy, and I just thought, well, that's kind of an interesting deck to delve into, so I picked it up, and I absolutely love this deck. So we're going to go through it today. I'll give you a walkthrough of the deck, and then at the end we'll do a reading or two. We'll see how we're doing for time. And we'll use they have some special layouts in the book about how to use these cards if you want to use them sort of specifically as they're laid out, which we'll get into. Before we get into it, for those of you who are new around here, my name is Taya. Welcome to the channel. We talk about all things witchcraft. And for those of you who are returning viewers, maybe coming in from another video, welcome back. Thank you so much for the support. And all of you, please consider subscribing. It's a really great way to help us build the channel. Now, the Starcodes Astro Oracle by Heather Roan Robbins, artwork by Lucas Lua de Souza. I am just so impressed with this deck. It's so beautiful. It is 56, it's a 56 card deck. It is an oracle deck, and it comes with a guidebook. It has this beautiful, very substantial box. It's nice and thick. It's got this pretty kind of patterned purple on the inside. I'll just set that off. And then it comes with a guidebook, which has been very helpful. I have been playing with the deck a little bit, and it kind of goes through the deck layout, reading methods in it. Gives you a little bit of an orientation to astrology after the reading, the spreads, which we're going to try one of these. The orientation to astrology, and then it gives you messages, right, from each card. So you can use this like a regular oracle deck where you just pull a card and you can get a message from a card. So here's, say, from the planets, they have the planet Mercury. It gives you a message. It gives you action, a challenge, and a gift for each card in the deck. So there's lots of sort of different ways that you can play with this deck and read from it, which I really like. And every card has a 2-page write-up, which I think is really quite a bit. So it's a fairly hefty little book. Yeah, I love it. So we'll just set that off to the side. And then the cards themselves. So that's the back of the cards. I mean, aren't they gorgeous? I absolutely love the colors. They're bright, but they're muted. And I absolutely adore this sort of geographic geometry style of art, where you've got sort of the compass in the center with the different points, and then you've got these circles within circles. Yeah, I just think it's really beautiful. So we're gonna go through the deck kind of one card at a time. So we start out with, they call it the lenses. There are 3 lenses through which you can view your reading. There's zodiac signs, qualities, and solar activity. So we'll start with the zodiac signs, and you'll notice each card is numbered up in the corner. So this is the first card. Here is the 31st card. So that's kind of neat. If you ever want to put them back into order, you can just put them in, do you know what I mean? It's all just numbered for you, which I really like, because there are instances where I can see you might want to work with this deck by breaking it up into sections. Lenses being one of the sections. So this is Aries. I mean, I love it, right? Aries, the ram. It's got the fire sign on it. It shows the planet Mars. It's got the Aries symbol at the top. Then we've got Taurus. Oh, and Aries is act. Aries, act. Taurus, cultivate. Beautiful bull here with these lovely greens and sort of muted peaches. Right, they're showing it's an earth sign. Got their planet there. We've got Gemini, their symbol, and our planet, and the air sign. And Gemini is cross-pollinate. Interesting that they used bees, because Gemini is the twins. Often you'll see human twins. So interesting, they use bees. I like that. Cancer, immerse with the crab and these very watery blues and greens and the water sign and the planet. Leo, I like Leo. I have a couple of very strong Leo correspondences, if you will. Leo is shine, right? He's a fire. Leo sign. Don't see a planet on him though. We've got Virgo, which is digest. Beautiful with these wheat stalks in the hands. Libra, balance. The balance scales. Scorpio, investigate. I love that scorpion. That's beautiful. Sagittarius, expand. I like that. Very, very popular, right? I was wondering if they might do something different. I'm a Sagittarius, so I was wondering if they might do something different than the traditional, but no. Capricorn, achieve. Oh, he looks cool with those really long horns. Aquarius, collaborate with the two vessels pouring the water. Pisces, sensitize with these two fish with these very elaborate tails. Then we get into qualities. So there are 3 different qualities represented by the deck. I don't know if they're planetary qualities. Yeah, I guess dignified, right? Strength, and there's like this winding spiral staircase up to this. I don't know what this is. Is it like it looks almost like a mirror? Debilitated, which is much more muted. And it also has the winding staircases, but it's much more muted card. And then retrograde, which I'm sure we're all familiar with when a planet goes retrograde. Then we get into solar activities, and there's 2 cards, solar calm and solar flares. Ooh, making a mess. Solar calm and solar flares. So again, calm is quite a bit more muted, whereas solar flares is quite bright, and it has those lovely like rainbow of colors in it. And that's the end of the lenses. Then we get into celestial characters. So we start with the luminaries, which is the sun and the moon. Again, they're beautifully complementary cards. The sun is this bright sort of yellows, and the moon is these much more muted, but yet it still has the full range of colors in it. I love it. The sun and the moon. Then we get into, that was the luminaries, we get into planets. So we have Mercury with the caduceus, these 2 snakes wrapped around. Interesting. Venus, beloved. Mars, motion, and interesting, right? Like Mars is the planet of Aries, and don't these 2 cards just sort of tie back together with their themes really nicely? And I'm sure they all sort of do. It's got the symbol for the planet up there. Mars, Jupiter, abundance, and look at this beautiful sort of cornucopia of food down here. Abundance, Saturn, structure. Uranus, change. It's quite lovely. The crystals over here in the clouds. Neptune, vision. That is a gorgeous card. These like icy spikes coming out from Neptune, which means vision. Pluto, rebirth. Then when we've done the planets, we get into the asteroids. So we have Chiron, which means heal. Ceres, which means nurture. It's like a scythe in there, which is interesting, right? I associate that with death, but here it is more with harvest, right? And nurture. Pallas Athena, it's think. And they have like the Athena, the goddess of war, isn't she? Juno in partnership. Aren't those beautiful birds? Juno. And they actually have a picture of, I didn't notice that, actual pictures of the celestial body. Juno. Vesta. Hearth. Oh, and there it is right in the center with all on fire. Vesta. And then we get into the lunar nodes. The last 2 cards are the lunar nodes. So the south node and the north node, which mean past and future. And I love that they're both kind of those dark muted cards, but one is the dark blues and golds and one is dark like almost blacks and silvers. It's really pretty. We have, then we get into, what are these called? Oh, this is now we're getting into the next. So we had lenses, we had celestial characters. Now we're getting into locations. So we start with cardinal points. So we have ascendant, which is like the rising in the east. Midheaven, which is pinnacle, which is the pinnacle in the north of the chart. We have descendant, which means invitation. Descendant, which is the descending in the west of the chart. You can see how they've moved the side. And Imam Coeli, which is the root. And again, what a gorgeous depiction of this like organic root, but these beautiful, very geometric patterns up above. Root. This would be in the, it's basically the cusp of your 4th house is the south of your chart is the Imam Coeli. The descending sign descends on the western. Midheaven is sort of the cusp of the 10th house in the north of your chart. And then ascendant is your rising sign. It rises on the eastern horizon at the time of your birth. And the descendant, it descends on the western horizon at the time of your birth. So, right? Again, they're all sort of talking about different positions in your chart. Then we get to the houses. This is kind of interesting. The 12 houses of the zodiac. So what I did was I actually went and pulled, just like I'm gonna have a coffee. You can all listen to me slurp that down. We went to the, for the houses, and I actually pulled a cheat sheet, if you will, that sort of went through what each house is. So we have the first house, which they've tagged as arrival. And your first house is appearance, ego, interests, and the self. And a gorgeous stag there with this beautiful pinks and greens and kind of muted, but then there's this emerald in here. Absolutely gorgeous. There's the earth in there. The second house, which is resources, also money, possessions, physical environment, and self-esteem. I love the apple being pierced by the arrow, but the arrow is actually living. It's a living, a flowering branch. And of course, all the money. The third house, communication, which is also what communication, intellect, communities, and relationships. Isn't that beautiful? These 2 birds and all of these little delicate teal flowers in the back. And I love that as organic as these images are, they also still have all of these sort of geometric patterns pulled into them. They go really well. Your 4th house, home, which is the home, intuition, parenting, and children. Home. And it's got like a window, which I like. A window with the moon showing through the window. 5th house, passion, just passion, love, success, and creativity. There's this artist's easel. Gorgeous. 6th house, sustainability. My chart has it for health, details, order, work, and structure. I mean, it definitely looks very structured. They're kind of playing in the chakras here, which is interesting. I guess you could, sort of correlate those to health. I like how the person here who's sort of meditating, they have actually 4 arms and they're holding up this big central wheel as well as holding on to each of the side smaller wheels, right? Almost like they've got to keep it all sort of going and running and balancing. I like that. 6th house, sustainability. 7th house is relationship, which is partnerships, marriage, friendships, and legal proceedings. Again, beautiful. It's got 2 hands here. One's kind of coming almost from behind that geographic image and the other one in front. And their fingers are, their hands are clasped together and almost like a hand fasting where they've been tied at the wrist. I like that. That's beautiful. 8th house is mystery. So I have 8th house is change, transformation, debts, secrets, and sex. So I think mystery definitely speaks to that. Beautiful with the skull. I love this card. I think this is absolutely gorgeous. And I love the jewel tones of the rainbow hue behind. That's beautiful. The 9th house, which is exploration, and I have it down as higher education, growth, expansion, religion, and philosophy. And I think all of those definitely lend to exploration. They've got like is that like a mariner's compass that they use, or a navigation tool as you navigate your way through your higher education your religion, your philosophy. That's a beautiful card. 10th house, authority. I have 10th house as social status, career, and aspirations. I mean, it definitely would speak right with these peaks, which makes me think of goal setting, of, right, you have to, you know, apply yourself and put the work in to get to the peak. 10th house, authority. 11th house is community, which I have as originality, humanitarianism, connections, and creative ideas. They have it as a community. I can kind of see how that, especially like humanitarianism, that sort of ties into that idea of working with community. And there's like the two hands. One is very dark. One is quite a bit lighter. One's, you know, kind of behind and pinching through this geometrical formation, and the other one on the front, almost like they're working together. 12th house, the final house, introspection. And I have it as occult, psychic ability, and the subconscious. So I think that's interesting. Again, they've pulled in the chakras, which, I mean, I'll be honest, I'm not a huge fan of the chakras. Again, it's sort of been so taken out of context by the Western esoteric system, but I get it. It's got some very strong symbolism for many of us. So they do have the chakras there for you under introspection. And then we get into then the final section of cards. So we had lenses, celestial characters, locations, and now we have patterns. So within the patterns, we have supportive aspects. So we have conjunction, which is when things, two planets like fly together, right? They mutually intensify the effects of the other planet involved, right? And I love they show here geese flying together in formation, just like the planets would fly together in formation when they are in conjunction. And their keyword there is alliance. I think that goes well. We have trine sextile, which is symbiosis. And trine sextile, they are highly compatible angles between two planets, right? So they are sort of pulling, what's the word? They have that mutual benefit to them. Maybe not as strong as if they were in conjunction, but it's definitely there. Trine sextile, symbiosis. Then we have the others, which is, these are the challenging aspects. So we had supportive aspects, and we have challenging aspects, which are opposition or confrontation, they call it, which is when two planets are across the zodiac wheel from each other, so their energies end up at odds to each other. So instead of building each other up, they're sort of, I don't want to say they're tearing each other down, but they're working against each other, and they have these two stags butting heads, right? Opposition and confrontation. That's a gorgeous card. We have square, semi-square, and quincunx are three other sort of, again, they're incompatible angles between planets in our reading, and their energies are at odds. They are incompatible. So again, we have two birds here now fighting against each other, which is kind of interesting. It's a beautiful card as well. I don't know why I'm really resonating with the challenging aspects. And then finally, we have changing states. So transits, which they link down to climate. And the transits are basically the movements of the planet through the positions in the birth chart, right? They're transiting, they're moving across the birth chart. That's a lovely looking card. You see all the different sort of, I guess that could almost represent planets in a chart. And here they are sort of wrapped around the central one. It's gorgeous. And finally, progressions, which are basically a progression in astrology is when you forecast future trends and developments in a birth chart. So progressions, again, it's a projection, it's a prediction. So here they have journey, right? So the progressions, you can sort of progress out what your journey will look like. So yeah, so those are all the cards of the deck. They're quite lovely. Let's go ahead. I'm going to shuffle them up. Let's see how they shuffle. I haven't even done that yet. And then what we'll do is we'll do a reading. Ooh, they pretty, guys. Not quite loose enough yet to do my funny shovel. Oh. All right. Do one more. for our purposes. It doesn't have to be super crazily done. So that works really well. Oh, I just realized I wasn't supposed to shuffle them, so we can't do the reading in the book, because basically in the reading in the book, you would take them. Oh, I'm so silly. You would take them and you would split them into the lenses, the celestial character, the location, and the pattern. And then you would take one card from each of those and you would read it like a sentence. So I'm sorry, I went and shuffled the deck, so I don't really want to sit here and reorder them all. So we'll just do like a general, let's just do a fun reading. All right, deck, tell me what we need to know for the upcoming Samhain season. What do we all need to know for the upcoming Samhain season? Okay, and then we'll split the deck. Bring this to the front and bring this to the middle. All right. So I'll just do it as like a single card. It's that card right there. I can see it. And we'll look it up and see what it means. Oh, moon, perception. Perception for the upcoming Samhain season. That's kind of interesting. So let's look up the moon. So moon, the ruler of Cancer, speaks of the deep inner river of emotions, what motivates you, how you experience and express your feelings, and how you nurture and need nurturance. In your astrological chart, the moon is as important as the sun, even though it's much smaller. By a coincidence of relative size and distance, from our earthly perspective, the sun and moon, our symbols of consciousness and unconsciousness, appear to be the same size, and this proportion makes eclipses possible. The moon cycles through the zodiac in 27.5 days, changing signs every 2 days and coloring our moods, habits, and behaviors. Okay, so that's an interesting write-up of the moon and sort of what it does in astrology. So action. First, perceive what unspoken emotional inner calling and patterns drive you. Look to your own moon sign. When you cooperate with your moon's emotional motivation, you'll find it easier to walk in harmony with your path. Next, investigate the needs and wants of those around you. The emotions underneath the surface actually run this show. Those primary drives are expressed through habits and actions, nuance and expression, rather than through words. Look for that underground ocean. It carries the soul's energies. Speak to the insecurities that slow this process. Act in a way that helps others feel nurtured, warm, and emotionally connected. Make them feel at home. Tend the food, water, and the home base. Like the moon, the energy in this situation will wax and wane, so assess the current phase and work with those cycles. The challenge: look to feelings rather than logic to move a situation forward. Notice any strange responses to anxiety, touchy personal defenses, nepotism, xenophobia, subjectivity, or insecurity, either in your motivation or in those around you. Tend to the fear that lies underneath these behaviors. And the gift: you are one with the ebb and the flow. Watch what sign the moon occupies each day and let the moon teach you about its phases. Align yourself with those tides and make your life easier. So that's kind of interesting, right? It's talking a lot about, like, right, look at the phase that the moon is in. So we could look up what phase is the moon in Samhain, or not what phase, sorry, but what sign the moon is in on Samhain, which is in my book in the other room. And a lot about sort of, again, perception, right? Perceive what unspoken emotional inner calling and patterns drive you. I think Samhain is a great time to sort of turn inwards, and, you know, it's our witch's new year. What do we want to sort of focus on for the year to come, and turning inwards. And then it talks a bit about, right, investigating the needs and wants, primary drives of everyone around us expressed through their habits and actions. Right? Tend the food, water, and the home base. So I think there's a lot of sort of a care component there, right? What's going on with the people around you? How is it affecting you? Etc. So, I mean, interesting. And yeah, so should we do one more? We'll actually leave the moon card out. Let's leave the moon card out and see if we can pull one more in support of our moon card, our perception. What else do we need? Aries. Of course it's Aries. Aries, first card in the deck. Oh, look at that, right where my book opens to. Aries asks you to remember your personal fire, your reasons for being alive. So again, if we put that in with the moon and the perception, it's also looking towards ourself, right? Remembering our personal fire and our reasons for being alive. So kind of interesting, right? We can sort of, again, take a look and take that Aries energy, that action, and turn it perception inwards on ourself. And I think that's great energy for the Samhain season. So what do you think, guys? Do you like this deck? Do you have it? What do you love about it? What do you use it for? How do you use it? Already just, you know, learning all these different cards and what they mean. I've learned so much more about astrology, so I'm really excited about that. And otherwise, yeah, this deck is definitely, I'm going to have to sort of play with it a little bit and figure out how to work with it. But yeah, I think it's a good deck. I think I'm pretty excited about this purchase. So yeah. Go ahead, leave us a comment, let us know what you think, and otherwise, that's our video today. We'll catch you in the next one. Thanks so much, you guys.